When it comes to western Pennsylvania and Ohio, the name Samuel Brady is just as infamous as Daniel Boone in Kentucky or Kit Carson in the West.
Growing up, I was often found on the street skateboarding or in a field playing ball. The closest thing to exploring the American frontier I would get was to sneak into the woods to smoke pot with my friends. It wasn't until I got older that I began to look around me and start to see the places I once knew were disappearing, forgotten, and not even a mention in a Google search. So I decided one day to begin to explore the world around me as I see it and document what I learn. So I decided to explore the places from the stories my grandpap told me about and I remembered from school. And in western Pennsylvania, there is a ton of Revolutionary War history, something I had seemingly missed before. I might not be the smartest frontiersman, but one day I hope to explore the majority of the American frontier. And you can join me. Come on with me and explore Brady's Bend. Named for Captain Samuel Brady, famed frontier scout and the subject of many legends, near here in June 1779, in what was then Seneca territory, he led a force seeking to redress the killing of a settler and her 4 children, and the taking of 2 children as prisoners. The force surrounded a party of 7 Indians, apparently both Seneca and Muncie, killing their leader, a Muncie warrior, and freeing the 2 children. Samuel Brady came of fighting Irish stock. He was born in Shippensburgh, Pennsylvania, in 1756 during the French and Indian War. His father, John Brady, a committed soldier, was out upon the trail all the time. In 1775, when he was 19, he joined the volunteers from Pennsylvania to march for Boston. The War of the Revolution was just bursting into flame, and he intended to be in the thick of it. The next year, in 1776, his father and younger brother James enlisted in the Pennsylvania troops, also to fight for liberty. Then in 1778, his brother James was killed by a band of Senecas under Chiefs Bald Eagle and Corn Planter. He fought bravely, single-handedly against them all. They tomahawked him 5 times in the head and scalped him, but he crawled to safety, and he even used his rifle. That was the Brady way. He told this story, then he died. In the year 1779, old Captain John Brady, the father, was ambushed and murdered by other Indians. Captain Samuel Brady had vowed vengeance for his brother James. Now he vowed vengeance also for his father. He swore never to suffer torture, but to kill right and left, and henceforth, as the chronicles say, he made Indian killing his business. You don't often hear too much about Captain Samuel Brady unless you dig deep in the history books. But Captain Samuel Brady certainly was a keystone in exploring the American frontier.
Ironically enough, I visiting some of these places, and Samuel Brady, it seems like he's just forgotten, just like this baseball field was forgotten, and nobody included them. Samuel Brady, too, was forgotten in this iron furnace. Just this, that's kind of a shame, man. It's just... pile of rubble in front of a baseball field. Probably a titan of industry in its day. I guess everything has its day. But I don't know. Just I think a lot of times we want to focus on running towards the future and getting the next thing and what's our next big thing, instead of looking back and remembering what we have and what we had and taking care of what we had. And this is a nice example. Maybe it's not good for capitalism, but it's good for us. It's good for the people. Let's go check out this furnace. So it's fenced in. And as I always do on my adventures, I'm gonna climb. Probably not the safest fence, but it's gonna enable me and access and entrance to go ahead in here. We go inside of the furnaces whenever we go and see them. Let's see. This is a really cheesy bit, but you know, we go inside of the furnaces as much as we can whenever we come and see these, because we come from out of the furnace, out of the, the coal mine of the coal belt, right, of the world. So the pressure and that molded us, steel town people, we think, right? That built, I didn't do it. I think our families did it, Our families built everything as a community. And we got together and, they worked hard to build each one of these bricks and stack them.
Brady's Bend Iron Works. Old coke ovens, mining, and other abandoned industries throughout southwestern Pennsylvania. These are the remains of two iron furnaces at Brady's Bend, Pennsylvania, originated in 1839. In February of that year, Philander C. Raymond, a New York ironmaster, purchased the land that became the site of the Great Western Iron Company. This company initially produced strip rails and expanded their operations up through 1842. By 1843, the company ran into financial difficulties and they ceased operations while searching for more funds. In 1844, some of the previous owners of the Great Western formed the Brady's Bend Iron Company and purchased the bankrupt company. This company enjoyed great success up through the mid-1850s, producing rail for the then booming railroad industry. At this time, they employed nearly 500 people. However, the Panic of '57 and the Depression that followed brought railroad construction and the need for iron to a halt. Unable to find a market for their iron, the company shut down in 1858. In 1861, William B. Ogden, the first mayor of Chicago and noted canal and railroad industrialist, purchased the ironworks. In 1862, following the Pacific Railroad Act, Ogden became the first president of the Union Pacific Railroad. He was a very busy man, seizing the opportunity to combine iron rail production with his railroad ventures. Ogden refired the works in December of 1862. The ironworks began turning profits in mid-1863, despite being undercapitalized, with an initial stock offering of only $45,000. At this time, the company began building houses for its employees. Initially, 70 houses were constructed, but there would be 150 by 1865. The company also constructed Presbyterian and Episcopal churches and a grocery store. The rapid growth during the Civil War found the ironworks undermanned. The search was out to find all the iron and coal miners they could and bring them to Brady's Bend. The company's mines could not produce enough iron ore to meet the demands of its furnaces and realized financial difficulties importing ore by train. This and the reduction of iron demand following the Civil War proved difficult for the company, and they fell into debt. On January 30th, 1866, Ogden stepped down and was replaced by Samuel Wheeler. The company saw an upswing from the oil boom and the construction of the railroad from Brady's Bend to Oil City in 1868. In 1869, Wheeler stepped down and W.D. Slack took over. Brady's Bend grew tremendously under Slack's leadership, with holdings at over $7 million and nearly 1,400 employees by 1872. Despite all of this, the company was still facing financial difficulties. In March 1873, the laborers went on strike due to not having been paid in months. The strike didn't last long, and the workers were reassured that they would be paid. In June of that year, the machinery broke down, and the works were shut down for a week. In July, the workers went on strike again because they still hadn't been paid. The financial situation was too great for the company. In September 1873, they sent out their last shipment of rails, and in October, the furnaces were blown out for good. In 1894, another attempt was made to open the ironworks, but it failed. The bank foreclosed on the land, and it sold to Colonel Edward W. Dewey in 1901 for $40,000. Dewey's son, Edward R. Dewey, managed the land until the late 1900s and leased it for real estate, oil, and gas development, and 1,000 acres were donated to the State Game Preserve. Today, there are ruins of 2 iron furnaces sitting behind the baseball field.